Today, we are going to be talking to a sports bettor who went from consistently losing money every month to quitting his job because he was so profitable. We're going to talk to him and find out exactly how he did it. But more importantly, we're going to pick his brain and he's going to share with us his insights so that we can turn sports betting into more than just a fun side hustle. Folks, I am psyched to bring on this next guest. It is none other than yours truly, the ArbFather. If you're not really familiar with the ArbFather, he's on the Mount Rushmore of OddsJam. In terms of just making a profit on OddsJam, this is the guy we want to talk to right now. ArbFather, how the hell are you?
Billy, I'm doing great, man. Wicked excited to get on here and talk with you and just kind of let everybody know, what I've been up to for like the last year and a half.
So there's the first question right off the hop is you can already tell for those at home that pay attention, ArbFather is a resident of Massachusetts, bringing in that wicked.
There we go, yo.
I love it. Well, I'm a Pittsburgher, so I'm going to say yins, and anytime I say out or around or something like that, it really accentuates. But so for the second question I'll have for you is obviously on a recent Twitter post that you had on July 3rd, looking at your picket, you've made over $45,000 via a verified third-party bet tracker called Picket. But obviously you posted that you made close to $98,000. So for the folks at home, can you explain why those two numbers aren't aligned?
Yeah, definitely. So, Pickett only supports like specific books. So I use a lot of other like offshore accounts and stuff like that too that Pickett doesn't actually sync with. So, yeah, I mean that's what I can verify that I've made. But that was on July 3rd, like you said, it was at 97,000, and today we're at almost 120 grand on the year.
You know
So
what?
we're
I quit
getting
my
there.
job right now. I'll work for you.
That's
I'll
it,
quit it
bro.
right
That's
now. I swear.
the most
Uh,
classic scene of a movie right there, right?
it's incredible. So for some people, they'll just think like, bro, this guy's just like there's no possible way. But to kind of back it up, because I try to think about just the beginning sports better. Everyone's new in their journey. Before you discovered OddsJam, I mean, did you sports bet at all? Were you decent at it? Did you make money? Did you lose money?
Yeah. No, I mean, I'm 27 now. I think I started when I was 18. My dad had like a local book and stuff like that, or Rhode Island became legal too to bet in, like maybe heading up to like 10 years now. So I was doing like a lot of stuff like that, but I definitely wasn't a winner. I
Yeah.
probably thought in my mind like I was like a break even better, like everybody thinks, but I was definitely losing money.
It's always good too when you don't really track your bets back in those days. Side note for myself, for the folks just to know that my senior year of high school, I lost $1,100 over a college basketball weekend. My parents didn't know what to do because no one in my family gambles. So I had the money to pay for it, but my mom was helping me balance my like bank statements to be like financially responsible. So I went
Yup.
to Gamblers Anonymous classes for 6 months. The greatest stories I maybe ever heard in my life came from those 6 months sitting in that classroom. Um,
Dude, no kidding. That's crazy. I never knew. That's awesome. That's
yeah, they kind of just freaked out. They didn't know what to do with their oldest son, and then they're like, "Well, like, we'll send him here and hopefully straighten him out." But so then when did you actually find OddsJam? Like, was it on your phone? Was it a YouTube video? Did someone tell you about it? How did you discover them?
Yeah. So sports betting became legal in Massachusetts in March of 2023. So I started using like FanDuel, DraftKings, and I'm kind of being ignorant. And I'm like, oh, dude, I'm gonna run it up. You know what I'm saying? I got all these options now. I'm gonna make a bunch of money, and I started making my own picks for like a month or two, and same trend. I'm losing money. So one of my buddies, this guy stacked the units, my buddy Brian, he actually put me on to a few videos that he's seen about OddsJam. And believe it or not, we never told anybody this, but it wasn't actually Alex, the first person we ever watched, Billy. It was actually you.
Get the
So
fuck out of
I
here!
swear to God, and he'll verify that, bro. It was actually you. And then, we start going down like the rabbit hole and we find all the videos on Alex and arbitrage and EV betting and stuff like that. So he definitely got me into it like uh, around April of 2023.
That's incredible. Yeah. So around that time, I started part time at OddsJam because I knew they were looking for content creators, and I needed some kind of video resume for them. So then I started doing that and making a couple of videos for them for a few months, and that's awesome. That
Dude,
you're
so crazy. Such a small world, right?
yeah, it's a
Never would
really
have
small
thought.
world. That's how it comes full circle sometimes. Now,
Exactly.
for some people, how quickly were you able to see the value in it, or did it click right away for you, or did it take you a couple days or a week or two to be like, well, I don't know, maybe I'll take this leap?
Yeah. So I mean, we started like EV betting at first, like the first like 2 weeks. We weren't even actually taking the bets; we were just tracking them, and we were like, "Holy crap!" Like we would have been up like 2 grand this like in like the last 2 weeks. So like, all right, now we're gonna jump on. And just like anything, I mean, there's variance. So the first couple weeks we actually jumped on, we didn't do that great. So we were like, all right, maybe we'll get away from EV for a little bit. Let's try like the risk-free arbitrage. So we get on the arbitrage, and I had a $5,000 bankroll at the time, and my goal was like, I'm just trying to make like an extra grand a month if I can. So I had like the original goal of $33 a day, which roughly is like $1,000 for the month, and I was hitting it, dude. I was hitting it within like an hour of work, but I just didn't have the knowledge back then to keep going and put in like my whole bankroll. So I was only putting like 1,000 or 2,000 of my $5,000 bankroll to work and hitting that number. So I definitely kind of capped myself out, but I did that throughout like the whole summer, and yeah, I mean it definitely clicked pretty easy for me, but um, yeah.
Did you find that it clicked a little easier with arbitrage than maybe positive EV, even though you started with plus EV in the beginning?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's just a little bit more like self-explanatory, at least from like coming from like my end. It's like, all right, I can take a bet on this book and a bet on this book, and they have the calculator on the website, and I have to put 150 on this side and 170 on this side, and I'm gonna make $8 no matter what. So it's really laid out like simplicity for you to make the money.
Exactly. Yeah. And for the folks at home, like when being in Massachusetts, how many books, domestic US books, did you have access to when you were executing this? Because a common question I receive a lot is, hey man, I only have like 3 or 4 books. Should I go get more, or can I do this on four? So how many, when you started in Mass, how many did you have?
I think six. It was FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, MGM, ESPN, and Fanatics. So those were like the main six that Massachusetts rolled out originally.
Yeah, and then it's do you find, I mean, have they added any more smaller like niche books? Like for in Pennsylvania, we have like Bet Rivers, Bet Parks, and like Arizona it was like Desert Diamond, Superbook, Sahara Bets. Do they have any more niche books in Massachusetts?
They just brought Bally's or Bally's. They just brought them like the last month or two. So I mean, they added them, but that's all
Yeah.
we gotta have. We're not anywhere close to like Arizona, Colorado, or New Jersey.
Yeah, I know what you mean by that because it's in terms of like arbitrage betting, it's sometimes with those niche books, and where this is kind of the next topic we'll kind of flow into is like Bally's. I remember having that access to in Arizona, and the first thing that people always tell you when they see your numbers, I'm sure you've seen comments before when they look at anytime you post a green calendar, like, well, bro, these sports books are going to limit you,
Yep.
right away. And so when anyone says that to you, what's your response, or what do you think in your head?
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of like anything. If you're a winning bettor, no matter what the strategy is, like you're eventually going to get limited. Whether you're doing arbitrage, EV betting, if you're originating lines, or just whatever it is, like you're going to get limited if you're a winner. So it's like just make the money while you can. It's like if just like that little cliche, like saying like if you seen $100 on the ground, would you just walk past it? Obviously not. Like you're going to pick up the free money. So
Yeah.
I think it's a great way for like new sports bettors specifically to just kind of get like. Integrated into like the sports betting ecosystem and build like their bankroll, and then they can start going on to other stuff like EV betting or DFS that might have a little bit more longevity. But I don't know, I definitely think it's something everybody should try that's just starting to get into sports betting.
Yeah, I agree completely because it kind of lends you into the nice. It kind of takes your hand and just walks you into the shallow end of the pool where you start to learn then how these sports books operate. You get a real feel for them, very intimate with all right how FanDuel works. Like we know we love FanDuel because you can just input the amount of money into what you want to wager, and as you
Definitely.
slowly start to really up that size, you'll find out the max wager size immediately.
Yep.
Compared to DraftKings or Caesars, where you're just clicking and hoping that they accept it.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of always that's how I started with arbitrage betting was for the first couple of months. And then getting after it. And then I started to really understand all of these books and how they operated and how they worked. So when it was time to maybe make that next step to plus EV betting, which I think is like going from checkers to chess or the minors to the majors, because
Definitely.
there's no guarantee. You really
Yep.
have to have belief in that. But yeah, I agree with arbitrage. It's fantastic. But these niche books, typically, and you can tell me from your experience, I feel that the niche books are quicker to limit you.
Hmm.
and that your best friends for life are going to be FanDuel, DraftKings, Caesars, well, maybe not BetMGM. Those, but the big books are like your best friends that you'll still be able to arbitrage with.
No, yeah, you're 100% right. The Fanatics, the Bet Rivers, those guys, even like ESPN kind of books are, they'll give you a little bit of life and rope, but eventually they're gonna cut you off pretty hard. But yeah, FanDuel, Caesars, DraftKings, even when you are limited on those books, there's still certain markets that you can get down a pretty decent amount of money to make to make arbitrage bets and stuff like that.
I agree. I agree. So now that you're more of you're obviously a seasoned vet, understanding OddsJam, and over the last, I think within the last year or so, they've really rolled out the live betting. What is your daily portfolio? There'll be a couple of different questions here. First, your daily portfolio in terms of pre-match betting to live betting to plus EV betting. What's that pie chart look like?
Yeah, I think it all kind of depends, like like what season we're in. Whether it's MLB season, NFL, NBA. But currently, right now, the split's pretty even. I'm doing a pretty even split between like pregame and live. I'm doing a lot more EV at the moment, just because there's not as many live arbitrage opportunities there in baseball.
Yeah.
Football and basketball, it'll be complete opposite. I mean, like college football, college basketball, there's 50 to 150 games a day. It's just absolutely insane. They're in the live market. So
Yeah.
come, November through March Madness, I'll be spending 75, 80% of my time, hammering live lines.
I agree with that. And also like for I think like for the beginners that are maybe getting interested in arbitrage betting, which I like to reiterate is baseball season, the NBA season, there's games every day. So you can find those plays, but there's going to be a lot of times where you're going to have with football, specifically college and pro, where you're going to have arbitrages that you'll place on Tuesday and Wednesday, and those
Yep.
funds are going to be tied up until Saturday or Sunday. But if you're someone that's like, well, can I get those same odds on Saturday or Sunday? It's like, no. Like you have to like understand that you're going to have funds tied up for a couple of days with football compared to
Definitely.
the NBA that you're just going to churn through on a daily basis.
Yo, no, that's a really good point too, and I think that's like when I first started. I was still doing mainly pregame only in September last year when football came around, and I was doing that too. I definitely built up my bankroll, but I was realizing like easily by Sunday, I already had more than half of it tied up, and I was just waiting for bets kind of to cash. So,
Exactly.
like I seen so much
Exactly.
more. I seen so much more value that I couldn't get, and it would make me mad. Like I already locked in like my guaranteed money, my profit, but I was like, dude, there's so much more. But
Yeah, no, I agree a lot with, I agree so much with that. So then outside of your daily portfolio, and I understand, like you said, it depends on the season, whether it's baseball, whether we're in June or whether we're in November, those are
Yep.
two different animals when it comes to the activity and the opportunities. But do you try to set X amount of time aside per day to just R bet or plus EV bet? Or is it just kind of whenever you have time, you're just always
Yep.
on there?
So honestly, right now during like the summer, it's kind of just like sporadic. I'll get on for 20 minutes, I'll take an hour off. I'll get on for 20 minutes, I'll take an hour off. Just kind of
Yeah.
random. But I think sports specifically, like NBA, you can kind of like utilize your time a little bit more efficiently. Um, when injury news is coming out, when lineups are dropping, usually 2 to 3 hours before game time, that's when like stuff just starts going crazy on all the books. If LeBron gets ruled out, then that impacts everybody's lines on the sports books on both sides, on his team and the opposing team. So I think being able to set aside like those 2 to 3 hours before the NBA games, like that's crucial. So NBA season, I'm always looking in the morning, what times do the games start and stuff like that, and trying to bang out whatever I have to do during the day just to be able to set that time aside later on.
And that's really insightful information because a lot of beginners are like, "Hey, is there like an optimal time?" And normally, I just for arbitrage betting, I say, "No, I mean any time because it's kind of just
Yep,
always breathing." But that's good to also know that like a few hours before tip, that's when there's a lot of things going on, and it's maybe better use of your time to get on there and take a look at it.
definitely.
Um, for live arbitrage betting, is there just general? Is there times of the game where you will bet, and then there's certain times where you like, maybe maybe the fourth quarter, the end of the fourth quarter, markets start to shut down. It's not really
Yep.
worth it, but like second and third quarter might be, or what do you prefer to do?
No, you're definitely right, and you hit kind of like something key right there. Like you definitely want to be careful more towards like the end of the half or like the end of the game although like there may be higher ROI opportunities at those points, it's also a little sketchy because like some books might pull their lines a little early and stuff like that, and you never want to get caught one sided. So,
Yeah.
at the beginning of the game or the start of the second quarter or any time in the third quarter, you're pretty good. But what I'm really excited about again for this year for an OddsJam feature on Platinum for the live is the stoppage tool. Did you use that at all last year?
No, I mean, I just use the pause and play button. You mean?
So there's actually a stoppage tool that they added. I believe it was an NBA season. So you can go on like your ARB filter, you switch over to live, and then it has all like your filters, and you go
Yep.
down to in-game status, and there's two boxes. One says live and one says stoppage. So you can unclick the live and just have stoppage. So any single time a game is in timeout, end of a quarter, at halftime, it's going to show these opportunities. So instead of betting when the guys are dribbling up and down the court or that someone's
Yeah.
driving down the field, and stuff's like sporadically changing, you can just hit that stoppage tool, and that's gonna dramatically increase like your success rate there on live. So I've been trying to tell everybody that because they're like, live goes how like so fast. How do you do it? And I'm like, I know MLB and tennis, it's flying right now, but watching football and basketball, like it's a game changer.
No, that's a game changer for me because I honestly didn't know that because I haven't delved too deep into live arbing because I've realized that I just need to spend a lot more time in just learning the process because I would love to be able to bring some content to people out there and just like
Yep.
you, to teach them and help. But you just taught me something. So that's
Yeah.
incredible. So something that I'm really interested in, and honestly for myself, outside of obviously just the stoppage tool that you mentioned to me, which is truly helpful. I kind of want to end this right now and get in there and start doing it. Is when I started my sports betting journey, I was divorced. I moved to Arizona. I just had me, myself, and I. So I didn't have to bounce any of this off of my girl or like, I didn't share any finances. I was just going rogue by myself. So I know that you have a fiance or a wife. You're a father of one, about to be maybe a father of two. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
And so the conversation, because I know a lot of guys out there, they're either in relationships or married. And so, naturally what we're doing is we're not just placing, a $10 wager here and a $15 wager here. That's how it starts. But then as you start to see the switch flip, you can make a lot more money. So
Yep.
somewhere in all of this rant is a question, which is how did the conversation go with your girl in terms of just, hey, babe, so, there's this arbitrage thing. Did you have to get deep into the details or was it pretty simple?
Yeah, I mean, luckily, my girl's pretty supportive, but I kind of have like that entrepreneurial like mindset, and it's always been something with me. Like ever since we've been dating, it's like I'm always on to the new hustle or something like that. So when I first started, I think she was kind of like, all right, here we go again. Like Nick's on to something. So the first like few months or whatever, like I mentioned what I was doing, but she didn't really know like the ins and outs of it. But it was in October when I had like roughly like a 10K bankroll and I started doing like live arb, and I literally doubled my bankroll that month, and I turned 10 into 20. And like I don't even know, like maybe I was just being extra generous and bringing her out to dinner or buying her things, but she was like how's that betting thing going? And I'm like, it's going really good.
Yeah.
So she became like a little bit more involved and would like ask questions like how it's going and whatnot. And in December, I made 10 in October. I think it was like 15 in November and almost 20 in December. And we kind of just sat down and had like a talk. And I was like, I think I'm losing money when I go to work. And she's like, what do you mean? And I'm like,
Yeah.
literally, I think it's costing me money working instead of not devoting a little bit more time to doing this. Like, as crazy as it sounds. And we have like a joint savings and stuff. And she's like, if you want to give it a try, like go ahead. So
Yeah.
she was really supportive, and I left my job in December 23rd, and just been doing arbitrage, EV betting ever since, man.
Congrats, man. Cause it's not always easy to, cause you have that safety net of the paychecks coming in every 2 weeks and that's the case, but to kind of take a leap of faith, there's so many different aspects, not just in sports betting, but in life in general, where you take a leap. I always find it interesting. I like to get your insight on this. So I remember like 2 years ago, I finally told my dad, about like I'm doing a little sports betting on the side. I know he doesn't like sports betting from me at all because obviously what I told you what happened in high school. So
Yep.
he's like, "Oh, here we go again." So it's kind of funny. It's like, yeah, I make a couple $100 or 1,000, and your family's like, "Oh, okay. Like, is this really worth it? You should just invest your money." And then when you
Yep.
start to tell them like you're making 5 to 10 grand, they're like, "Oh, okay." And then you start making the money you're making. They're like, "So I have this business idea for
Yeah,
you.
yeah.
I was thinking you can invest in it." So it's so funny how their tune changes because the same with me with YouTube was like, oh, I'm doing this YouTube. And then like 2 years later now, like this is what I do. It's the greatest
Mhm.
job in the world for me. And everyone like starts to take it more seriously now. So did you
Exactly.
have like any with your family or friends? Like it was like you saw the progression with their responses?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think again, like they all kind of knew like the hustle in me and stuff like that. So I think they kind of thought like the same thing as like my girl, like, oh, Nick's on to something new, might last a few months or it might not.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, now everybody's pretty supportive and it's a regular conversation at holidays or family meetups and everybody's always joking like, "What are we betting tonight?" Da 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 da, and type of thing. So definitely looked
Exactly.
at as like the sports guy in the friend circle or the family group.
Yeah, exactly. So then when you're placing your bets, and I know arbitrage with plus EV, maybe this is a little more plus EV driven, is how much time are you actually sitting down watching the games that you're wagering on, or how much time do you devote to like checking in on the games, or do you not check your phone really much at all and just do something else?
Yeah, I mean, I used to be like an avid like sports fan, like watch all the games and stuff like that. Like especially when I bet like before, like degenerate betting and sweating out like my $100 bet or whatever.
Yeah.
But now I don't even watch sports. As sad as it is, like it's I don't know. I just can't really get into it unless it's like the last leg of like an insane EV parlay or something like that I'm sweating out. Then maybe
Yeah.
I'll tune in for that. But no, I just kind of just place the bets and let the numbers do their thing.
I agree because it's the same for myself. I mean, I'm a diehard Pittsburgh fan, so I watch the Steel. I never miss a Steeler game, but I typically don't like to wager on that game, even if I miss out on opportunities. That's fine, but I can't tell you, and you know this, how many times you check maybe the box score in the first quarter on LeBron on his points, and he's like, he hasn't taken a shot yet, and you're losing your mind. You're like, I got
Yep.
the over 26.5. What the hell? And then you check it at the end of the game, and he goes for 30, and you're like, what? Or,
Yep.
you need the over 4.5 strikeouts in a pitcher, and he strikes out the side in the first inning, and then he only gets one more the rest of the game, and you're
Yeah.
like, what is? And I try to like just drive that home to people. Like sports are just so unpredictable.
Yep.
Like you don't know, but I definitely think like you lose years of your life if you're like sweating over a bet. And the more you
Oh,
do this every day, it's just like well, you're gonna have some that go your way and some that don't. So like just try not to sweat it and just trust the process.
no, 100%. Yeah, I totally agree on that. I definitely think it's like a minus EV type of move to, sweat out all your bets.
Yeah, the Circles Off podcast at the end, it's
Yeah,
like, yeah,
yep,
what's plus EV, minus EV, and
yep.
that's minus EV.
Big time.
Speaking of, what would be, in your opinion, for future for arbitrage betting? Can you, not that are a soothsayer and you can read the future, but
Mhm.
do you think do you see for yourself personally between EV, live arb, and pre-match arb, do you see maybe your funds flowing more towards one area or the other compared to where it is now?
Yeah, I think eventually, probably 90% of what I do is going to be EV. I just think there's a lot more longevity to do that. You don't need as high of limits. You don't need as many books. You can get
Mhm.
creative. You can do EV parlays and stuff like that, even on some sites that you're limited on.
Yeah.
So, as much as I love like the free money and the guaranteed money from arbitrage, I'll always still probably do it if I see the opportunities there. But I think eventually, like my main goal will be, EV for the long term.
Yeah, I agree. It's something that people ask a lot as well, and I agree with you. Is I don't arbitrage nearly as much, and that's I mean obviously because of certain limits with my personal accounts that happens. But it's also I think that there's just a higher return that you can receive off of EV betting than what you can with arbitrage betting. But it kind of comes down to you personally and your risk tolerance. Do you want to
Yep.
play it safe? Also I can be loose with it. Like I said, I'm a family of one. So
Yep.
I don't have to answer to anybody else. And if I lose some money, well, then that was on me. I don't have to worry about other people. So, but yeah, it's kind of funny how you kind of graduate through the levels when it comes. Any for, is there any tips for any maybe people that are beginning with arbitrage betting that in your experience that you can share with them one or two things that pop off on the top of your head that like, hey, make sure to do this or this when you're arbitraging?
Yeah, yeah. I think like on OddsJam specifically, like the filters are amazing. Like you can select the exact books that you have money in. So like, you might have 8 books in like your state, but you only have money in 4.
Mhm.
Don't have all 8 clicked off. Just have the 4 that you have the funds in right now because you don't want to have all that noise on your screen. I think that's how a lot of people get overwhelmed and they're like, "Oh, it's too much. I don't know which ones to click," or, whatever, whatever. But, if you have like the 4 books that you have money in, then it's just a lot less noise and you can really kind of focus and tune in on, what you're supposed to be doing and what books you're looking at.
I agree. Do you like the strategy of maybe just signing up with like, let's say you have, like you mentioned, 8 books in your state. You start off with maybe just like 3 or like 4 of them. And then as you start to grow that bankroll, you start to add more, or do you like to sign up with all 8 off the jump and then just have your funds really limited, but it's spread across all 8 books?
I think for like a brand new person, like say like sports betting just went legal in Massachusetts today. I think like the best strategy is to sign up for every book because obviously they have like the promos and stuff like that, and that's going to
Mhm.
help your bankroll initially. So sign up with those, take advantage of those, add that money to your bankroll, and then I'd kind of try to hone in on like 3 or 4 books initially. And then as limits start to hit or as your bankroll starts to grow, add another book here and there. 500 in this one, 1,000 in this one, whatever your bankroll is. But I
Yeah.
definitely, you don't want to be spread too thin.
Yeah, because then you're moving a bunch of money across every day, and that takes a couple business days to settle. I also
Yo,
sometimes for like if you start off on like a 1 week free trial, I know that everyone's like itching to get started right away, but I say maybe take the first day and just don't arbitrage at all and select the books that you have, and then just look at where the opportunities are popping up. Maybe certain books are popping up more, and those would be the ones you want to sign up with. But it's kind
yeah,
of tough because not tough, but you want to go after that like low hang because I feel there's like a power rank system of your um of when you want to sign up with books, and the low hanging fruit can, maybe you only have to do a $250 deposit match on a Bet Rivers compared to
yo,
BetMGM. It's offering you that $1,500 bonus bet. You want to save those because as Eminem said, like you only get one shot. So like there, but then again, it's tough because some people don't have that bankroll. So I'm kind of
yeah,
speaking on both sides of the mouth. But yeah, if you're in the arbitrage betting, yeah, I would say just kind of see which books are popping up the most on the tool, and then you know where to sign up with.
yeah.
Um,
No, that's a really good point, especially on like those Caesars or MGM $1,000 to $1,500 risk-free bets when you first start. Yeah, if your bankroll's a lot smaller and you can't do that off the bat, then it probably is the optimal decision to maybe put those on the back burner for a month or two until you have that bankroll to
yeah.
fully take advantage. So that is a really good point. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, that's I appreciate that, but yeah, that's incredible. So, well, our father, man, I really appreciate you being on here. It was awesome being able to chat with you. Kind of you sharing your story and your experiences. I know that there's a lot of viewers out here that are going to be able to gain some valuable insight from the tips that you shared. And obviously, guys, if you're interested in trying arbitrage betting and the strategy itself, link below is going to be a bunch of different links that it's going to walk you through how you actually can execute this strategy, make risk-free cash off of these greedy sports books so that you can follow in the footsteps of our father. And, like him and myself in our beginning of our journeys, we didn't start with a ton of capital with this, but we slowly just worked our way up, grinded our way through. And then one day, next thing you know, you're making thousands of dollars every month sports betting. So it is very possible to be extremely profitable. And down below is going to tell you exactly how.